Hey friends, this has been quite a week in the Wingfield household because in 1 week I started, built, developed, ran, and then closed down a business within 7 days. It was a very small business, but I learned a lot of things, and so I thought I'm going to do a little video to tell you about what happened and a lot of the different things I learned because it was an adventure. So, what happened is the city of Atlanta stopped collecting yard waste or yard bags because too many of their employees had gotten sick, so they were short staffed. So, my sister has this company called Trash Can Valet that takes people's garbage or cans in and out. So, I already had the umbrella organization, which, because as a nine, I wasn't going to start some company from scratch. That sounded way too overwhelming. However, because I knew I could kind of shadow my sister's business, I thought, the yard bags were really driving me crazy. And so I said to my 11-year-old son, I said, we should start a business where we go around and collect these yard bags for a fee and then take them to a landfill or a dumpster and solve the problem. Within a few weeks, the city's going to start picking these bags up again. And so it was going to be a very short lived business. And I just thought it would be kind of a fun adventure for my son and I to do. My sister was totally game for it. So, first of all, this was a funny thing. She's an Enneagram 7. And she said, Emily, I wanted her to do the business. And she said, Emily, I don't have the bandwidth. I can't do one more thing. And later she said, Emily, do you know how healthy I am to say no to starting a new business? Because she said, I want to start this business so badly, but I'm learning my capacity. So that's point number one, is that was so great for me, and that's such health and growth for her to say, I can't do it all. I'm not going to stay uber busy with a smokescreen of activity to keep my fear away. I'm going to stick with what I have committed to, and I'm going to see those things through. So that was number one, awesome growth for my sister, which was so exciting for me to see. Then, so I get my wonderful cousin Megan, who's really creative. She makes these flyers for us. My son and I go put these flyers on any house that has a yard bag. I'm on Facebook and Nextdoor and all these different things. And so what's funny is in the few days as we're growing, as we're developing this business, my sister's an Enneagram 7, that means she's in the aggressive stance, and she's giving me all these ideas about this. And my son, he's only 11, so I'm not going to type him. However, I definitely feel like he is in the aggressive stance, which means he's a 3, a 7, or an 8. The aggressive stance, they don't really like to be called aggressive. They sometimes like the word assertive a little bit more. But what it means is they get their needs met. They go out and get their needs met, and they meet the world head on. As a 9, I am in the withdrawing stance, like a 4, 5, or 9. When the world gets too overwhelming, I withdraw. So here I am as the 9, and here is my sister and my son in the aggressive stance going, do this, we should do this next, we should do this next. There was one day that I thought my head was about to spin off my body. Things were going so quickly. My son had so many ideas, my sister had so many ideas, and I had a lot of ideas as well, but it was just really interesting to really see their aggressive stance in action and how quickly they could move, how quickly their brains could think about things. And so this was funny. That night, I am literally sitting on the kitchen chair like this, and I said, Charlie, I don't see how you and Sarah Catherine move so quickly through life. And he said, in a respectful way, it was not disrespectful, but he said, honestly, Mom, I don't see how you don't move that fast. Why do you move so slow? And this is the beauty of the Enneagram, is that we can say, you know what, we move at different speeds. And yeah, they blaze through life. And there's some typos, maybe there's some hurt feelings, maybe there's some things that fall through the cracks. And that's why I'm good at what I do, is because I move slower and I take a little bit more time in different things. So that was just yet another interesting interaction through building this business. Another thing was, so Enneagram nines, we sometimes talk about our sloth. Of course, I love to use this image in my teachings of, this was me at a Thanksgiving. And nines get a bad rap that, oh, we, sloth, we sleepwalk through life. However, I started and built a business that brought in $979 within a 7-day period. That's pretty fast. So my point is, nines do have the capacity to do big things. However, we don't always want to do them, because you know what? I am worn out. And yeah, it was fun for a week, but I'm done. I told my husband, I was like, I don't need to start another business for a long time. So it was good for me to realize I have this capacity, and I don't need to do this all the time. Another lesson I learned was, it ended up, all of the people I tried to hire to pick up these yard bags fell through. So it ended up being my son and I, and then some other little folks that helped for a few hours on different days. So I ended up having to rent a U-Haul van, not one of those huge ones, but still bigger than what I'm used to driving. And I was pretty stressed the day I ended up having to rent that, because the kid that was supposed to be driving the truck and the trailer had bailed on me. And so I ended up having to do it myself. And I get in the truck and I'm a little stressed. And my son says, Mom, are you sure you can drive this thing? I'm a little scared. Are you scared? And I said, you know what, Charlie? Yeah, I am a little scared. But when I was walking over here, I kind of did a mental check on myself. And I thought, what the hell am I doing? Why am I doing this? And then I paused and I thought, you know what, Emily? So y'all don't know this, but my husband and I moved to Belgium when we were newly married and lived there for 4.5 years. And so I looked back on previous experiences of resilience and tough times. And I said, Emily, you've done hard things before. You learned how to drive in a foreign country that has wacky driving laws compared to what you're used to in America. You can do this. My son used to have a swim coach that whenever they would do something hard or swallow water or something, she would encourage them to come up out of the water and say, I can do hard things. And so I looked to my past experiences and I thought, this is scary. I'm a little intimidated to be driving this van through Atlanta, but I've done hard things before and I can do them again. It's not what I would choose to do every single day, but I have the capacity within me to do this. And I'm going to dig deep and I'm going to do it. How this relates to each of you out there is that's what you're doing through COVID. We are building up this resilience so that in a few years when something bad happens, hopefully not a pandemic, but when something else rough happens, we can say, you know what? I made it through homeschooling and I never thought I would do that. I made it through being quarantined for who knows how many months and I never thought I would survive. I can dig deep. I have a capacity within me that I never even knew I had, and a resilience. And I'm going to tap into that and lean into that to know that I have the courage and stamina to do something hard next. Another thing I did during this time was I leaned into the examples that I have seen throughout my life. And that was honestly part of the reason I wanted to do this with my son, is I said, I want to teach him these things that I can tell him about it. You know how they say some things are taught and some things are caught? He's going to catch on to the work ethic I value by watching me do this, not by hearing me talk about it's important to be a hard worker, but by watching me get out there and haul nasty yard bags and sweat and maybe cuss a little and realize, man, when my mom commits to something, she sticks with it. And so what I want to encourage all of you out there is that other people are watching you, because during this time, I was really realizing just how wonderful my parents are and my sister, and how much I was relying on the role models they were in my life and still are. Tenacity. That is my dad. This man, I mean, we call him a little pit bull bulldog. When he Yet when he's determined about something, he's going to do it. And I saw that coming out of myself when I was like, oh, we're going to get this done. Come hell or high water. That's why I rented the van. I was like, I'm getting this done. And my dad's an Enneagram 3. And I could see, his work ethic and just his ideas of there's a problem to be solved. Maybe we can make a little money at it too. We're going to do this. My mom is an Enneagram 1. I would see her when we would, in my mind, or I'd hear her in my mind when we would finish at a yard and then there'd be little scraps. And I'd think, you know what, Emily? Do it right. Do it well. Finish the job. Leave it nicer than you found it. Sweep up a little bit. Rake up a little bit. Do things the right way. And I could just hear her voice in my mind about do things the right way in a good, honorable way with integrity, trustworthiness, and just good morals and values. And then there's my sister, the Enneagram 7. There were times that I wanted to get in a bad mood about this. Trust me, I was sweaty and hot. My son was in a bad mood, all this. And then I would remember my sister. And I have seen her so many times in life when there has been a bad situation or, gross, not fun. And she can make it joyful and funny and laugh. And so I would think, as I would notice myself going down in a bad mood, I would think, Emily, what would Sarah Catherine do? And I'm like, she would laugh at this. She would totally find a way to make this fun. And then I was able to check myself and say, okay, Emily, the whole reason you wanted to do this was to teach your son and to have fun with him, to make a memory. That's what my dad always would say, make a memory. Life is a contact sport. You got to get out there and have contact. And so I would laugh about it instead. I'd try to put on some good music on the radio. I'd tell my son a joke and we would end up laughing about it. So as much as we were totally miserable sometimes, we also really laughed. So anyways, all in all, I ran the numbers last night. I'm going to double check them for you here as I tell them. So we brought in 7 days, we brought in $979 between 15 houses. We picked up over 130 yard bags. Our costs were about $793 because of renting the dumpster. I had to pay different people to help out throughout different times. We had to rent the U-Haul van, all this different things. So we made, get ready for this, $186. So I was doing the numbers last night and I was feeling a little down. I was like, all of that work. I mean, that was like over 40 hours of work. And not only just the computer stuff, but the actual taking in these really gross, smelly bags that had been rained on for 3 weeks straight. I was like, we made $186. And so I was sitting on it, pondering, praying a little, thinking about it. And I just kind of got this thought in my mind. Maybe it was God, maybe it was just my own thoughts that said, Emily, maybe it wasn't about the money. You didn't need the money. You saw an opportunity, you wanted to make a little extra money, but your husband's salary was still making ends meet for your family. Maybe all that wasn't about the money. It was 7 days of learning lessons, pondering how your family has influenced you, getting a chance to influence your son and maybe your other son who got to see your work ethic, getting to interact with a lot of people, solving other people's problems. Who knows? Maybe it wasn't even about the money. So I don't know. But I will tell you one thing I've learned. Bags be gone is gone. It's done. We've shut down the business. But it was a fun 1 week adventure. And I have so much more appreciation for garbage men and women out there that pick up all of our gross, smelly stuff. Hope you learned maybe a few lessons from this. And trust me, I'm going to be running back to teach the Enneagram because that is what I was meant to do, not pick up yard bags. Thanks.